Hello, hello, my people. Well, I'm going. I'm gonna continue in doing my legacy videos today. Um, Number 7. Okay, I hope, if I remember, it is the continuation of my legacy videos to my grandchildren. So that one is after Africa, okay, after my trip to Africa. And I came back to Brasilia, yes. So it's gonna be about this time. It's not gonna be easy for me to do this video because it was a very, very hard time for Vovo. Very hard time for Vovo. Um, and before I start to talk about what's happening after I came from Africa and establish myself again, try to establish myself again in Brasilia. I wanna give advice, okay? Some advice, if I may. So, don't ever force your kids to do anything that they don't wanna do, okay? Respect the decisions your children do for themselves, especially if they are above 18, 19. Because what's happened to me was I was cut off from a decision that I had made, okay? Probably because of the all these hard times I faced in my life as a young lady. I never forced my kids to follow any beliefs that I had. What I think about it is every person has their own inside beliefs. My path, my experiences in a spiritual life, and life itself is not the same as anyone else because our path in life is different from each other. So you have your path in life, your inner dreams, inner desires, and as you have yours, your children also have theirs. Okay? So because I was forced in my life many times to do what I was not intended to do, and I was forced in many ways of following my parents' beliefs, I I got the opposite side. I never forced my kids to any beliefs because I think my experiences are my experiences based on my desires, on my inner search for truth in life. So everyone has their own path to follow and to finish. We can guide is a different matter than force them. Guidance is something, you know, but make your children do things that they are not supposed or they don't want to do is another thing. So this experience of mine is about it, okay? It's what happens to me. So when I came back from Africa, I was I had in my brain that everything would be like it was before when I left. I didn't count on the growth that goes when we travel abroad and different cultures, okay? Because I was not just living with Africans. Actually, I live very little with Africans. I was with people from different countries in the planet. So I had friends from everywhere, from Germany, from France, from Turkey, from Lebanon, from Egypt, from you name it, Holland, Australia, Austria, Ghana, from Portugal, from Angola. I had friends from everywhere. I made friendship with different types of people. So I had, when I came back to Brasilia, to Brazil, when I went back to Brazil, I had all this information in my brain and I didn't count on it, in that all this knowledge, all this thing that I live in there would change me so much from inside. So when I went back and I was living in Brazil again, it was a shock for me because nothing was the same. Everything was the same in the city, people were the same, but I was not the same. And I didn't count on it. So I had a struggle to adapt myself again. Okay. And when I went back, I went to the place I was working before. So I got my job back. I was interior designer. So I got my job back, and I started to work again. So it was a refreshment for me because I love design. I was loving doing, this project, etc. So, but the company that I was working for had moved that time when I was in Africa. They moved places, so it was a little farther now from my house, and they had also accommodation on the company there. So I was staying more on the accommodation of the company because it was easier for me to be there. Wake up in the morning. I was already on the building of the job. So, but the problem is, my parents didn't like much what I was doing, and they didn't like my boss also because my boss was a spiritualist. In Brazil, we have a place in Brazil. It's called the Valley of the Sunrise. Okay, it's a spiritualist valley where people have contact with extraterrestrial life, etc. This type of things. Okay, it's very, very. What's the name of this? It's it was, completely different from what my family was into it. So my parents didn't like this because he was part of this people from this valley. He was going there sometime, and you know and they thought they were gonna be a bad influence on my life. So even I was okay working, etc., I was happy. They didn't like it at all. So as I was staying more time in there, okay, in the job, etc., I was not coming back on the weekends. They got very upset with this. And one day on Friday, it was a Friday, and I had to stay behind that weekend because we were planning to. No, we were planning. You were receiving some guests in the place in the office, and this guest was a potential client for a very big a project, and I was going to be the designer of this project. So I stayed behind because we were going to have a dinner and drinks, etc., to this business stuff. And because I was when I was in Africa, I learned a lot how to do very nice cooking, etc. So they asked me to do a special cook, um, so a special food for the evening. So I was cooking. I was in the kitchen cooking with the wife of my boss, the partner of my boss. We were together there having fun, laughing and cooking, etc., preparing the food for the dinner, okay, for the business dinner. Um, and then I heard the buzz of the door. And then I thought, oh, who is coming at this time? It was about 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. So I instead of going and because the boss and all the people from the company was talking to this man in the entrance in the living room, the hall. I was in the kitchen with his wife, so I opened the door of the kitchen to see who was buzzing at the door. When I opened the door and put my head to see who was there, I just felt a hand pulling my arm, pushed me down, and then took me on the stairs, you know, running down to the stairs, and then get inside the next door for the lift, and I was thrown inside the car, and my mother was in the car waiting, and another friend of her. I was thrown in that car. I was shocked. I didn't react because I was shocked. I was not expecting anything like this. I was shocked completely. I completely shocked myself. I didn't understood whatever was happening. I didn't understood why they were doing it to me. And I was 22 to 23 years old. So I was 23. And they took me to a church because they thought I was with a devil. I was possessed by a devil. And put me in a chair and a lot of people around myself trying to expel the devil from me. And I was so shocked that the only thing I had in my head was, I don't have any devil inside me. I don't have any devil inside me, but I was not able to talk because I was shocked. I was in shock. All these people around me screaming, pushing my head down, and trying to force me to speak. And then at the end, they decided that the devil that was possessing me was a mute one, the one that was didn't know how to talk. Even I was possessed by a stupid devil. So at the end, when they didn't manage anything with me, they decided to throw me inside the car again. And when they put me inside the car, I was so afraid. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I actually didn't know anything anymore. My brain was not functioning at all anymore. I was trembling. I was trembling, really. I was shaking. And the only thing that came to my brain that moment was, I have to sleep, I have to sleep, I have to sleep. And when these thoughts come to my brain, I start to cry. The tears was coming without me crying. Do you understand? When you cry without making any noise, nothing, just the tears coming down. And I was looking outside of the window, and people, one person on one side, the other person the other side, and the driver and the other person in the front. And they just took me to another city. It was about 1 hour and a half, 2 hours of driving. And they took that city because my sister was my s- my sister was working on this rehab, and then they throw me inside this rehab in the house of the lady that was the manager of the rehab. And they took me to her house, and she was talking to me. I was just crying. I didn't reply anything. Look, I didn't have anything to eat, anything to drink, nothing. I was completely passed out. My shock was so great that I was not even able to speak a word. I didn't speak for 1 week. I got silent for one entire week. And in that time, I was just sleeping. I didn't have anything on me, nothing. The way they took me, they threw me in that house. I didn't have any clothes to change, nothing, nothing at all. So my sister had to lend me everything so I can change, and I just slept for 1 week. I slept for 1 week. At the end of this week, I said, okay, in order for me to survive, I'm gonna surrender. I'm gonna forget all my dreams, everything that I have in my heart. I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna obey and do whatever they want me to do. So I stayed locked down for nearly 2 months. And this happened about 1 month after I arrived from Africa. So I stayed there for 2 months without nothing, without talking properly, without communicating properly, just thinking, what should I do? I thought about, escaping, but I didn't have nothing on me, no money, no document, nothing. So it was very complicated for me. So I decided at the end of these 2 months that, okay, I'm going to do whatever they want me to do. So I got quiet, and they started to trust me more when I decided not to, when they felt that I was not going to escape or things like this, try to escape. Then is when I come down, and they took me then to the church, to have to meet another people, etc. So at the end of this time, it is happened in I arrived in in April. I arrived in April to my this happened in May, end of May. So by September, I was allowed to go to another places, and so they took me to a farm. This farm was belonging to, I don't know if you remember, when one of my first legacy videos, I talk about a teacher, the Professor Brazil, the guy, he had a school, and I was studying in his school, I was playing football, etc. And he gave me the first job. So his farm. So he was the father of the husband of this pastor. So it was all on the family. So he took me to his farm to spend some time in his farm because he was pitying on me. So I had the time of thinking, and he told me, Miriam, I think you should think about everything that happens to you and make this the right decision for yourself. And I was, riding horses and cleaning and going around because he had a, a pottery place where he did, potteries, etc. So I was, doing some pottery and, walking with my hands on the clay. So it was a very good time I spent in that farm. So when I was in this farm, I decided, okay, I'm gonna go back to my sister's, where my sister was living in that house, and I'm gonna study then. I'm gonna study. So I decided to do it. And then I went back to Goiania again. By then, I didn't want to see my parents. I spent nearly a year without looking at my parents' faces because I didn't want to see them. Uh, it was very hard for me to forgive and forget. Until today, this hurts me a lot because with this action, they cut me from a lot of things. I was doing very well in the job. And then suddenly I was cut off and put in a place. It was like I was flying. I was start to fly away. And then when they saw that my wings were getting stronger and I was flying, they decided to cut my wings down and make me stay in the same place without flying at all. So I decided I'm gonna grow my wings again. But I'm gonna grow my wings where they want me to be until I'm strong enough to fly away again. So I booked myself in a school. I did book myself to um, religion studies, theology, and psychology. And I started to study, and I was still living on this with these people that I was putting on when I was taken from Brasilia to Goiania. I stayed there until next year, 1977. By March or April that year, 1977, my parents talked to an aunt of them, my aunt, my father's aunt, but my aunt also, yeah. So I moved to her house and living in her house when I was studying. So I stayed there for about a year, and then I felt that I was strong enough to live by myself. So I rented a room and I started to live alone when I was studying it. That was my second year of university. So, and then my parents decided to move from Brasilia to Goiania, and just my brother was living in Brasilia now in my parents' house, and my parents moved to Goiania, so I moved with them. So my third year of university, I was living with my parents again, and by this time, between 90, 1977 and 1980s, when I finished my studies, on between this time I met my ex-husband, the father of my kids, and I had another boyfriend during this time that I still friend with them now. Some of them live. One of them lives in Italy. I still friend. We're still friends today. And yes, it was on those times that I was I was living in Goiania and finished my studies and working, working with these people. So when I finished my studies, I was brave and with my wings again growing. I decided now I'm gonna go back to Brasilia and I'm gonna run my life the way I want it. So 1980, it started a new phase in my life when I moved back to Brasilia. And me and my sister and my brother decided to open a business in Brasilia. When we moved to Brasilia, when I moved back to Brasilia, I went to visit my ex boss, and he kept all my belongings. He said that one day she's gonna come back to pick them up. I know she's coming. And then he told me that he called the police, but the police said that they will not be able to do anything because they discovered that my family had done it. So the police told him, look, you can't do anything because it's her family that has done it. So you don't have power to go against the desire of a family. So that is another thing that I think is wrong, because sometimes the family is wrong. In my case, they were wrong. They were wrong because I still have leftovers this experience inside my heart. It still hurt me, you know. My sister asked me forgiveness not long time ago. She said that they were wrong in doing what they did to me. But when you have some types of beliefs, it's very hard. So, my advice to anyone that is listening to this video: never force no one to do something that they are not in the heart. Respect the decision of your children's. Don't make them suffer more than is necessary in this planet. Our life is not easy, so don't make it more harder on them. Okay? My experience was very difficult, and I still have leftovers of this experience. But I'm okay. I'm a survivor. And it's gonna start another etap. Not that so bad like this one. It was a little better, but very difficult also because my choice of marriage was not very clever. Okay. But I'm glad because now I have you guys. Yes. God bless you and keep you safe and me also. Bye bye.